Now,
turn
down
the lights.
You're
Listening to
somewhere in
Dreamland.
Welcome back, dreamers. I'm your host, Ken Mark, and you're listening to Somewhere in Dreamland. Be sure to check out the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and on the Dreamland website at www.dreamlandpodcast.weebly.com, where you can listen to the show live, check out older episodes, get links to past guests, and find the Dreamland merch store. That's www.dreamlandpodcast.weebly.com. But coming up next week on Wednesday, June 8th, I'll be speaking with Dr. Christopher Macklin about negative entity programming, abductees, archons, and the Galactic Federation. Then, the show will be taking a much-needed short break and will resume again on Wednesday, June 22nd to welcome exorcist and demonologist Bishop James Long. Tonight, my guest is Steve Hudgeons. Steve joined the U.S. Navy in 1969 and has 4.5 years of honorable service and 3.5 years of honorable service in the U.S. Navy Reserve. In 1991, he joined MUFON, and in 1995, he was appointed as Texas Cheif Investigator. Steve was also part of the original STAR team, and in 2008, he led a group of field investigators to Stephenville, Dublin, Texas, to investigate what is known now as the Stephenville Lights. In 2009, he became the MUFON State Director of Texas, and later, in 2012, Steve was appointed MUFON Director of Investigations. Hey, Steve, how you doing tonight?
I tell you what, anytime I wake up above the dirt, I'm doing great. Hey, I like the intro there. It's pretty cool.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I tried doing things like that when I was doing my radio show, and I never could get it to operate right, so I just quit doing it.
Hey, man, we have something in common, you and I.
Being Americans?
Yeah, that, and birthdays.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, when's your birthday? Same day as mine?
January 21st.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's a great birthday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The one problem with that, though.
What's that?
I was 6 weeks premature.
Oh. Does that count, though? It's still your birthday, right?
No, it doesn't count. Yes, it doesn't count.
Okay.
It's when you hit the ground running, that's what it counts.
That's what I thought. You never know, though. Some people, they have their own thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I've heard people tell me that. Well, you're not an Aquarius. You're a Capricorn. I said, no, sorry about that. No, I'm not.
Well, hey, Steve, I want to ask you. Some people have a really deep interest, and others, they have a profound experience, and some have both. What brought you to the field of ufology?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. Has never been presented to me like that. I've always been interested in anything abnormal. Even when I was a kid, I was just kind of curious about things, and I never really had anything like paranormal that would just really scare the crap out of me. And I have never, ever, to this day, seen a UFO or something in the sky that I could not identify one way or the other. But I've had several paranormal events in my life. But when I was a kid, I don't really know exactly what got me interested in it. I just got interested in it, and I can blame it on my grandmother, because she had this little paper that came to her house all the time. It was the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
And I used to read through that thing all the time. And I don't know if the things in there were really true or not, but they were fascinating to me and kept me out of trouble, because I'm always sitting there reading that thing. And I started learning about Bigfoot and ghosts and any other thing that walks around that's not human. And, of course, they had UFOs in there, too. And since they had everything like that was basically not normal, if you want to call it that. It all under the heading of paranormal. So that's what got me interested in it, and I have always been interested in it. And then I was talking to my sister one day, and I guess I was, I don't know, 40 something years old, something like that. And I was talking to her about a UFO report that I saw is in the newspaper. And she says, well, you need to join MUFON. And I looked at her kind of funny. I said, what's that? She said it's an organization that investigates UFOs. And I said, okay, how do you get into it? She says, well, I know the state director in Oklahoma. And she says, I'll get you an application. I said, okay, cool. It didn't take her long. Next week or something like that, she had an application. So it was like $25 to join, something of that nature. So I joined up, and I've been in it ever since. I've been in there now 31 years anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're pretty deep in the game now. You're Director of Investigations, and you have another title as well, don't you?
Yes, I had the DOI position for about 5 or 6 years, and then I got out of that, went into some other things. I got into the Director of International Development, and that's over the other countries around the planet that are doing things with MUFON, and I help organize them, things of that nature. But the DOI that they had covering everything, he basically retired and had to head back to his job because he's about to retire with it, and he had to do some work with his job. So Dave asked me if I'd be the DOI again, and I said, certainly, I'll do that. So I've been the DOI again now for about, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and it's an interesting job.
Yeah, I'll bet anything isn't. I'll tell you, even being an investigator would be super interesting to me, and that is actually something that's on my list to do. I am going to do that.
Okay.
I gotta shift a few things around, and I've got 18 kids. That's a joke. I don't need any more than I have.
18 kids, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so got to shift some money around, maybe sell one of them, and get my MUFON manual, and get out there and start doing some investigations, man. Because I'll tell you, I like all the paranormal stuff, and I don't even know if I consider ufology paranormal anymore. But that is where my heart is, right there. Ufology. I love it. So it is definitely something I'm going to do.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to split the paranormal and UFO thing apart. And I've been trying to do that ever since I can remember, because in order for people to take MUFON and field investigations and look at it hard, it's kind of hard to look at it if you got paranormal pegged onto it, because even to this very day, there is no proof of any Bigfoot, ghost, hobgoblin. There's no proof of anything other than something that I could create myself, and that's not proof.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do feel like there's aspects that cross over sometimes in certain cases. And I do think that somehow there's a connection there, but I also understand that in the field of ufology that the media, for one, puts it out there, and they always throw the X-Files music on, and they always pick the kookiest SOB to do the interview, and that doesn't help things at all. And sometimes I wonder if that's by design myself.
Well, I believe it is. We can use the Stephenville case for an example. It seemed like there was about 500 different cases down there at the time that we were looking at things, and most of those were old cases. And when we went down there and got that ball rolling, the people just started coming out of the woodworks. I mean, we were in that one building and for an interview with all the radio stations and movie stations, TV stations, and that room was full. I mean, there was 400 to 500 people in there, and we filled the building up, and they wouldn't let anybody else in. There were still people on the sidewalk that wanted to get in.
Wow.
And we just took case after case after case, and it was just mostly what we call lights in the sky cases, where I saw a ball of light, and of course they call that an orb because that's more paranormal, but it's basically just a ball of light. And the more we got into it, we discovered that the entire area, south and west of Stephenville and Dublin, there's a military operating zone. And the jets from several different air bases go there to practice. And, of course, we've also found out there's 9,000 or more different flares that they drop. Now, why 9,000 different kinds of flares? Of course, these flares are going to be doing all kinds of different things. And so you don't just have one ball of light. You have a ball of light that zips around and whatever they do. So we started ruling a bunch of that stuff out. And, well, it's this, well, it's that, until the flying Walmart came along. And I call it the flying Walmart because it was an object that was like a half a mile by a mile and pretty thick in the center. And all these years, this happened in 2008, and all these years I've been thinking that over. And I'm wondering to myself, I'm asking myself, why would an alien race come all the way here to Earth, no matter where they came from, it's a long distance, and fly slowly over an area that is bordering a military zone with jets and that have not only flares, but missiles, and take a chance on this Planet of the Apes bunch damaging my ship, and I can't get back home. And I just can't grasp that. That is not logical to me. So it makes me lean toward it's our ship, and they know when to come and when not to come, because it's a time of no jets in the air. Right. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it now. And then even further, now that we're talking to the government, and they're starting up these hearings and of that nature about UFOs, I'm more apt to feel like that there's about to be a false flag event coming up pretty soon.
Okay.
Where maybe, now this is just my own opinion, not anybody else's. It's maybe they're going to have a false flag event coming up because we have an election coming up that's going to be pretty important, and like with the COVID incident, we may have to stay in our house for a while and vote by ballot, and we all know how that goes. But I don't know. I hope there's not some kind of false flag event, because once you start something like that, it doesn't go away. So I don't know what the future means on that, but people are always asking, well, maybe there's going to be a disclosure going on. And I don't look for that to happen either, and not really, because they're wanting to put all these electric cars on the ground and get rid of the oil, and we see how good that's working right now. The electric grid, people always saying, well, how come you don't like electric cars? And I said, well, I love electric cars. I'm not going to buy one, but I said, why don't you imagine for a moment 20 million people plugging their car in right now and at night, every 2 hours at night. I said, the electric grid's not going to handle it. It's going to blow up.
Yeah, we already have problems now.
Well, yeah, last winter we had problems, and there was no electric cars plugged in. But they need to if they're going to get electric cars out here, great, no problem. Fix the grid where it's going to handle it. I mean, we got people moving to Texas here from all over the states, and they're having to redo some of the grid now. And just north of me, they redid some of the wiring, and there's no electric cars here that are getting plugged in on a massive rate.
And I think you guys have your own grid down there, don't you?
Yes, we do, but it's still popping and breaking, and it's not going to work. And up in the Panhandle, they have all those windmill-looking things that if they have to watch out, they'll blow up too. So anyway, when that freeze came in, it froze those shut, so that shut the electricity down. But they're doing things backwards, and that kind of bothers me. But anyway, that's what it is.
While we're there, we might as well talk about the Stephenville case real quick.
Sure.
Because I kind of want to go through some things with you because I've been back and forth on this case myself, and I've done my own little research on it, and so it was a mass sighting, and it didn't include the mile-long by half-mile wide craft. There were a lot of really credible witnesses to that, including, I think, like 2 police officers, weren't there?
There were 4.
4? Okay.
And these 4 officers, there might have been even 5 because I'm thinking back, but they were around downtown Stephenville, and they were not together. They were spread out in different beats. And this object came over Stephenville, downtown Stephenville, very slow, like I was telling you earlier, very slow, and just went right over downtown, and then it kind of turned up on about a 90-degree angle and took off. And these police officers, they kept it to themselves for a long time because they don't want to put that report in because they didn't want to get fired. But they eventually came through and talked to the reporter that was down there because she's no longer alive. She died from COVID. But she got they told her what was going on, and that's how I've got it. I don't even know who they are. But okay. Yes, and Steve Allen. He was he saw this same object flying also, and he said it was came back a little while later and some jets were chasing it. So you know how that goes.
Yeah. I know that the official government explanation for it was that these sightings were just F-16 fighter jets. But,
yes, that's what they said.
Yeah. Here's my thing, though, that I think about. Now, you mentioned that this area is pretty much a training ground, and it is surrounded by military bases for sure. Like,
yes.
So you would think that the residents of this town are used to seeing that and know what a jet sounds like, what it looks like, and everything else. I'm sure not everyone, but for the most part, some of them.
Yes, I've often asked myself that same question, and I'm still to this very day seeing photographs of bugs, birds, and lens flares and reflections, and this stuff is not just on my desk. I mean, it's all over the internet, and anybody that sees something like that takes a picture of it. They think they've got the golden gun there, and here, look at this. I've got the UFO. How much are you going to pay me for it? And the reason I say that is because when Stephenville was going on, we had some people come in from Japan, and they said that they would pay $1,000 per second for any video film that MUFON said is authentic as a UFO.
Yeah.
And so that started the money train.
Yep. That makes sense.
Of course, we didn't verify anything. It was a video. So
right.
They all got mad and went home.
So do you think that these were the actual flares, these lights that the military was using? Is that what you think it is? Do you believe the official report?
Yes, I believe it was flares. Okay. And a lot of jet aircraft activity. Yes, I do. I believe it was our stuff down there for the most part, except for the flying Walmart. I don't think that. Yeah, that was a questionable event there. I mean, we don't have anything the size of aircraft carrier that's going to be floating around, at least that I know of.
And they said that thing was silent too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, also this area, the other thing that gets me about this area, and I'm sure that MUFON has looked into it, is that there have been several cases out that way or sightings going back to the 1890s.
Yes.
And one of them,
a bunch of them.
Yeah, one of them like crashed into a windmill and.
Yes, that's Aurora, Texas.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I was up there with UFO hunters and we were looking at that.
Oh yeah, those guys. What happened to that show?
I'm not sure exactly. I've heard rumors, but they're only rumors. I don't know. They just kind of went out of operation, I think.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I've been told why, but I'm not going to say because I don't know.
Okay. That's fair enough. That really is fair enough. So I want to ask a couple questions about MUFON.
Okay.
So what exactly does one have to do to become a MUFON investigator?
Okay, first thing you have to do is go to MUFON.com and fill out an application to become a member. And there are several levels of becoming membership. And I only come in on one membership myself, and I don't know what they do, but you can go to the MUFON website and read all about it. And if you want to become a field investigator, there's an area there where you can, when you're applying to get in, you can click on become a field investigator, and it'll give you information on how to do that. And don't ask me how much it costs. I don't know. But you have to buy a field investigator's manual, and I'm not too sure how much that costs either, because I don't keep up with that. But you have to become a member, of course. Then you have to get the manual, read the manual. Then there's an open book test that you have to take. It's a 100-question test. And for the longest time, we had to keep that test top secret, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But recently, well, I say recently, with about 2-3 years ago, maybe 4, we developed what we call MUFON University. And you can take this test on MUFON University. And there's still 100 questions, but there are 300 questions to choose from, and it automatically changes the test for everybody.
Oh.
So there's not one simple test exam with the answers. So nobody has the answers to it anymore. We don't have to worry about it. But it's not that hard to pass. If you got it's open book test, you can, best thing to do is read through that manual. Yeah. And then you'll kind of get an idea of what's going on with who, what, when, and where. It's in different sections. And you can find your question, and there's a multiple choice answers, and it'll come back. It's not that hard. I don't know of anybody that fails it. Not really, that I've ever heard of.
Okay. Does each state have its own manual, or is it a universal manual?
It's a universal manual. Okay. I do the editing on it.
Oh, nice. And so after you do this, let's say I get the manual, I take the test, I pass the test. Is there any additional vetting that one has to go through to become There's
a training program to go through, and everybody goes through it. There's, like I said, MUFON University takes care of that, and you have different classes on there that you can take. And depending on the state director of where you are, South Carolina, I'm not sure who it is anymore. It's been a while since I've been a state director, but you have to work with them. They'll work with you, and you have to do a certain amount of cases, and you'll get, to start off with, you'll be assigned Category 1 cases, which what we call those lights in the skies, but it's just simple cases, and it gets you used to talking with the witnesses and filling out the reports, and there's a lot of reports to fill out. And after you get, 10 or 15 of those under your belt, then you'll jump up from trainee to field investigator. And then as you gain knowledge and training and experience, then you jump up into the STAR team area.
Okay. And the STAR team, I know Margie had explained that exactly what it is. They're kind of like an elite group, right?
Yes, it is. It's experienced field investigators that the state director has no problem sending them out on an important job, because they got the experience and they basically know what's going on with it, what to look for, what to ask, that kind of thing.
All right. Now I'm going to pick your brain, Steve.
It's a very small brain, so don't pick too hard.
So I've heard you say before that there's 3 things in the sky. I used to listen to your show, man. So, yep. So
I'm sorry.
I liked it, man.
No, go ahead. 3 things in the sky. Okay, what
3
is it?
3 things in the sky other than birds and clouds: planes, drones, and UFOs. So I'd imagine that these things get mistaken for each other quite a bit. So
yes, they do.
Yeah. So when you're investigating a report or interviewing someone, what questions are being asked, and what keywords are you looking for to separate the birds and the planes and the drones?
Well, it depends on actually how far away the object was from you, what's the elevation, where you pointed, like when, let's take photos, for instance. One thing when somebody has a photo and I'm investigating it, I want to see all the photos on your phone. not just the one that you took. Because I always tell people, I said, look, if I see a UFO, I said, my iPhone, when I push that button down, it'll take 15 or 20 a second.
Right.
So don't show me one photo of a UFO, because the majority of the time people are out taking pictures of the sunset, taking pictures of clouds of that nature. And a bird flies by, they don't see that until after they see the photo. And they say, what is that thing? You know, it looks like a funny looking, well, it's a bird or a bug or something like that. And they just don't realize it. But as many of I've seen, birds, when you see a bird, they think, well, I don't see any wings. Well, that's because basically half the time the wings are folded up as the bird flies. When they flap, they fold up and go back out, fold up, go back out. So if you don't get it, I'm sorry. But here's another thing about UFOs, and then I tell people this all the time too, is just they don't have a flying saucer type vehicle or any vehicle. They do not have the power system that a jet engine has. It's not a hot air forced object. It's, why, by all my understanding, it's magnetically based. And, you know, I used to play with magnets when I was a little kid. They just don't do just everything. They do certain things. And you can't put them together. They'll flip over. Basically, so if you've got a magnetic engine working in the magnetic grid of the planet Earth, that object is going to be parallel with planet Earth. It's not going to be tilted, because they don't need the air to maneuver like an airplane does. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I see an object in the sky, oh, it's tilted and all this, okay, it's a fake object. You put that there. Somebody did. Well, they don't talk to me anymore. And it's kind of funny. There's no shadow on the ground, that kind of thing. And another deal is I've seen a lot of photos with they've got the flying saucer, the typical flying saucer up in the sky. And if you don't really pay attention to it, you don't know that the object is tilted toward you.
Okay.
Because you see the full edge. It's not rounded or anything. It's just basically kind of flat. And that's because they took a flat object that's a normal, right in front of them, maybe they even painted it or CGI'd the thing, and they stuck it up there in the air, and it's tilted, maybe at a 30-degree angle, but you can't really, the object is not flat with the earth and then 30 degrees up. It's the shape is not there. So yes, and there are some unknowns right now, unknowns in MUFON and the entire CMS, the database. There are 34% totally unknown.
Wow, that's a big chunk.
Yes, it is.
Wow. How sophisticated is MUFON's ability to analyze video and photography?
We have several people that will analyze the videos and the photography, and we don't give those names out because we don't want people sending them thousands of things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
The same thing with our labs. But if we have anything that's really interesting that we can't say, oh man, I don't know what that is, I'm going to send it over to so and so, and they'll look at it.
All right. Let's say I make a report tonight. How soon does MUFON make contact with the reportee?
Okay. When you put a case into the CMS and you click enter, it automatically goes to the state director of the state that you're in, and it goes to the assistant state director immediately. They get an email, and that state director has a matter of 24 hours or 48 hours. I'm going to have to look to assign the case. And then the field investigator that has the case has a certain amount of time to contact the witness. And they have what we call 3 strikes and you're out. And if they can't contact the witness using either email, phone, or maybe even snail mail, then we just chalk the case up as information only.
Okay.
But the time limit is very short.
All right. And I'm sure that I know the answer to this question already, but does every report get boots on the ground investigation, or just like big sightings? Or I'm sure you get some wackies that that report things that are just absolutely not even, thinkable. So I'm sure that not every case gets the boots on the ground, but what is the percentage there?
Percentage of boots on the ground. That's a good question. We have 6% hoaxes, and we have 16% cases that are information only, and we have 11% that are insufficient data. Now, the boots on the ground, that would be exceptional cases that you have to go in and look at. So as such as possible evidence in the area that you need to look at. Other than that, you don't need to go visit.
Okay. Yeah. So like if the report is interesting enough or you feel like they say there's other factors, that's when they'll go in and actually, check things out is what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a little slow tonight, Steve. Just, Well,
I'm a little slow too. This comes with age.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. So what is the investigation process like I guess you've already kind of answered that.
What is it like?
But say you and I'm a trainee and I'm under your wing and we get a case that's interesting enough. What do we do? We go out there and what happens?
Well, the first thing you want to do is contact the witness. And if you need to put boots on the ground, then you have to get more than two people to go out there. You don't want just two people. So 2 seasoned field investigators and maybe a trainee or 2. And go out and inspect the area. And you put a fine-tooth comb on it. There's a 12-step scenario that we go through that I just put that into the state director's handbook. By the way, these state directors have never seen it. But it's an FBI training program for investigating an area, and it's a 12-step scenario, and they're going to be excited when I give it to them at the symposium this year, because I'm going to present it to them. Now whether or not they do it or not, that's I don't know. But any kind of major case that we're going to have to go through it because it's a step by step and collection of evidence type thing, and you want to take a lot of photographs, and it's just like a bunch of police out there doing something. But normally, to make it simple, you interview the witness and then just ask questions, and after a while, you learn the questions to ask, and look at any kind of photographs that they have, that type of a thing, and you can basically figure out what's going on with it. And then you tell them, and they're usually satisfied with what's going on, unless they feel like they've been abducted or something like that. But when that happens, that turns over to the ERT, and they take care of all the abduction stuff.
Okay, so that was actually one of my questions: was if MUFON does investigate abduction cases.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do you guys ever collect soil and water samples and vegetation and things like that?
We went to, there was one case, I forget now where it was, where they had a crop circle. Okay. And they took some samples of the grass or whatever it was out there that was bent over. And I really don't know how that ended up. I don't know. I was just state director when that happened. Okay. But we have a lab that we send things to, but the best I can understand that I remember was that it was bent. The stalks were bent over with heat, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, what in the world could do that? But anyway, it's weird. I interviewed the man that coined the phrase "crop circle." Oh, really? On my radio show. Yes, and he says, "Oh no, there's nothing alien about that." He said. He's been to a bunch of those things, and he went to one once, and there was a bunch of people out there stomping the grass down or whatever they were doing, and he started talking to them, interviewing them, and they were kind of looking at him like they just woke up. They basically didn't know where they were, and according to these people, well, I don't know, we were just kind of told to come down here and do this, and so you take that with a grain of salt too. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because all of them are trespassing.
Right, right. Was there ever a time where you have a case where you maybe canvass the area and try to find other witnesses?
It depends on if it's like a neighborhood. Yeah, you can go door to door and see if there's any other witness that can say or substantiate things. Usually, a lot of times when someone sees something, the way the internet is now, that people start popping up. Oh, yeah, I saw that too. So you really don't have to canvass too much. But there's a lot of people see things, and they'll pop in there and talk about it.
Okay. I want to get back to the abduction thing real quick, because that's something that is super interesting to me. Do you have any clue how many abduction cases are reported with MUFON every year?
I have never done a survey on that.
Okay.
It's something that we never, years ago, we were told not to mess with the guys in the ERT. They were doing their own thing, and then didn't want anybody bothering them either. So I just left those guys alone. I could probably, let me tell you what, let me see if I can find out. I'll do it. I'll pull up CMS and I'll run a little survey. But while I'm doing that, go ahead and ask another question.
All right. Have you ever stumbled upon a possible abduction case during an investigation?
Yes, I have. Come to think of it. And it was a woman, I forget, it was a different city from Fort Worth. It was like out in Weatherford or something of that nature. And she told me about her abduction and on and on and on about it and carrying on about it. And it's typical abduction. And one thing, when I do investigations, like if I go to their house, I'm going to casually look around and see if they have any UFO books, because anybody that reads a UFO book about abductions or whatever, they know all about it because everything is in the book. And so anybody can have one after that. So if you know what I mean. So I do that. But that brings me up to another case I'll tell you about in a minute.
Okay.
But let's see. But anyway, this woman called me up on the phone one night. And she sounded like she actually sounded drunk. And she's telling me that she has just had another abduction experience. And I said, well, I started asking her questions about this and that and this and that. And she couldn't give me any real good information. Then all of a sudden the phone was taken away from her. And her husband got on the phone. And he says, forget about what she's telling you. She's drunk. And he says, I hate it because she's bothering you. I said, okay. And I hung up. I never heard from her since. And that was 20 something years ago.
Wow. I imagine there's a great deal of that out there that happens.
I know, but working with the police, I'm sitting there. My second little thinking was maybe something really happened, and he didn't want her talking about it. So I don't know. So anyway, I haven't heard from her lately, or ever after that.
All right. Well, I imagine that there are a ton of abduction cases that also aren't reported. You know what I mean? Like legit cases. Cause I don't know. I'm of the belief that, that stuff actually goes on. Where are you at? What do you think? What do you think about
I would
abductions?
imagine, well, first of all, when I got into MUFON, I didn't know anything about it at all. And even to this very day, if you're not just kind of active on the internet, and of course there's a lot of things about UFOs now on Fox News and things of that nature, but nobody knows where to go to report. So yes, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that know they've never reported because they didn't know where to report. Okay, I have 4,300 cases of entities.
Wow!
Out of 100,000 cases.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, that's really pretty good. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. And who was that? I was interviewing somebody, and they said that only 10%, maybe 20% of the cases are actually reported, and the others are not. So that sounded about right to me, because when I get out and talk to a bunch of people, I always ask them, how many people have had a UFO experience? About half of them will raise their hand. I said, how many of you reported it? Well, the hands go down big time.
Yeah.
So that's about right. They don't know where to report, or they don't want anybody thinking they're stupid,
or they don't want to be made fun of, or anything like that.
Well, yeah. You have to get out of that tinfoil hat, because after all, we are all paranormal.
Right. So one of the things I'm really interested in is common denominators. I always want to know common denominators. And,
what do you mean?
Well, for instance, does MUFON do any research into like what age groups or races or anything like that are reporting these, or even lineage? Because I think that's a big piece of the puzzle.
That we don't have that type of information even listed in our questionnaires.
Yeah, well,
what's your race? I don't know. I've never asked, what's your age? Well, now if they sound like a kid, someone young, yeah, we will ask what their age is, and if they're under 18, we have to have parents' approval to talk with them.
Okay.
But other than that, no, we don't go anybody. We don't have any kind of by race or ethnic. No, we don't do that. No.
Well, I'm sure it's something you got to kind of tiptoe around anyway. But
well, I don't care what color somebody is. If they've had an event, that's the only thing we're interested in.
Right. I just, looking at it from my angle, is I want to know if there are like different lineages or anything like that actually have these experiences or see things more than others. That's what it really interests me.
I understand where you're going with that, because I asked Kathleen Martin something similar to that once, because she dealt with all these abductions and things of that nature. I always heard that most of the abductees had B negative blood.
Yep.
Have you ever heard that?
I have. I've heard an awful lot of Celtic heritage and Native American heritage has.
Okay, I've never heard that part, but I heard the part about the negative blood. And so I asked her that one time. She said, no, there's no certain blood type. And I said, good, because I'm B negative. I don't want to be abducted. She started laughing.
Oh, geez. You're funny, Steve. You make me laugh, man.
I'm funny looking too. No, I'm just kidding.
So am I. That's why we're not doing video on this.
I know it. I broke my camera. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Now, there are people that come to me and say, "Oh, I've been abducted, man. I've been communicating with aliens all my life, and 20, 30 years old, and these guys talking on and on. They visit me every month and all that kind of." I said, "Well, have you ever?" I said, "I'd like to see some of your video footage." And that stops them in their track. And I said, "Well, what do you mean video footage?" I said, "Look, if I was being a contactee in my house for 20 years, you bet your butt I'm going to have some cameras around there filming this." But I have 9 cameras around my house right now, inside and out. And I'm not looking for abductees or aliens. I'm just looking for the criminals that are out. That's all I'm looking for. But no, they're stumped. They didn't have no idea how to answer that question. It's like, wished I'd have thought of that. Like, what? I don't get it. And it's kind of funny. One of the things that I really stump people on is this. They'll be talking on and on and on about how they've been in communication with the Pleiadians. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'll ask them, I said, how long you been doing that? Oh, quite a while. I said, have they, I said, you call them Pleiadians. I said, have they ever corrected you and told you that you were calling them by the wrong name? They pause and they say, no, why? I said, because we named that area the Pleiades. Yeah,
that's true. It's pretty interesting.
They block me and don't talk to me anymore. But it's the same way with all these other people. They're this and that. I said, well, okay. If we named it that, then hey, that's us. We named it that.
Well, then you get the people that say that, that's because they were in contact before they had the name. And I mean, there's so many factors, even with like the camera situation. I've talked to plenty of people who say they have set up cameras and they simply just don't work.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that too. It gets blurry.
Yep.
Or it cuts off.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just, I listen to the stories, you know?
Well, I have a follow-up.
Okay.
I said, I'll have a follow-up. I said, well, here's what you do. I said, if your cameras don't work, get some talcum powder. When you go to bed, get some talcum powder and sprinkle it all over the floor around your bed. And you'll see footprints or something around your bed.
Yeah.
So I get blocked again.
No, they don't like that, do they?
No, because they're lying about it.
Right. So have you ever seen any cases that you feel that people are legit? Like really legit being abducted or visited?
The other person I was going to tell you about, she called me on the phone once. Now, this is all 20 years ago. She called me on the telephone and she says she wanted to make sure I was with MUFON, field investigator, that kind of thing. I said, yeah. She says, well, I'm looking for a group around the Dallas-Fort Worth. She was in Dallas, about the Dallas-Fort Worth area that has abductees and like a support group. And I said, well, we don't have one that I'm aware of. And at the time we don't, and we still don't. And she says, well, okay. She says, do you think you could come over and let me talk to you about some stuff? And I said, sure. So I got her phone number, or not her phone number, her address, and it's over in Dallas. And she says, let me ask you something. I said, sure, what? You don't have any signs on your car or anything like that, do you? And I said, sorry, laughing. I said, no, I don't have. No, I do not have anything that says MUFON or field investigations or ghost hunter. No, I do not. She says, okay. So she's had me come over that Saturday. I forget what time. It was like 1 o'clock, something like that. And so I got over there. It's in not a very expensive neighborhood. It's more like the one I'm living in, you know. But I pulled up to her house, and then I got out, and I walked up to her house, go knock on the door, and she came out the door, and she's standing on the porch. Now, this porch was pretty high off the ground, and this was a tall woman. I'm only 5'7". This woman, I got up to the porch, and she like held her arm out, you know, and gave you the stop sign with her hand up.
Yeah.
And I stopped immediately, and she held her hand there for about another 30 seconds. She put her hand down, and we started talking. And I had to look up so high that it started to make my neck get stiff. This woman was 6'6", and that porch was 3 foot in the air. So here I am looking 10 foot in the air. So anyway, we're talking. And once in a while, she'd kick that hand out, you know, and look, and finally she says, okay. You can come on in the house. So I said, all right. So I went in there, and I had my little notes and things, and I was taking notes and things she was telling me. And she says, she stopped talking, and I noticed she kept putting that arm out. And she says, I suppose you're wondering what I'm doing. And I said, well, yeah, it did cross my mind. She says, I'm checking your aura to find out if you are okay or not. And I said, well, I don't have a gun or anything, and I'm not going to kill you or anything like that. And she said, well, I felt that. She said, that's why I let you come in the house. I said, oh, well, okay. Then she says, I want to ask you a question. And she's getting serious now. I said, okay. And she says, do you remember your abduction? And I looked at her, and I'm starting to get cold chills now just talking about it, because I don't talk about it much. But I stood up real quick, and I said, what abduction? She says, you've been abducted. You just don't remember it.
Oh, interesting.
And I started pacing the floor. Seriously.
I bet.
And I said, well, how would I know? She said, you probably know now since you're pacing the floor. I said, what? So I stopped, and I sat back down, and she sat there talking about it, not really giving me any details. She says, but yes, you have been abducted. And I said, well, I certainly don't remember it, and I'm glad I don't. And anyway, I collected my stuff, and I left.
Yeah. Freak you out a little bit.
Yes, and since then, she moved. I don't know where she went. About a month later, she's gone. So I'm sitting there thinking about that. And I told you that to tell you this. Is when I was in the Navy, we were on the fan tail of the ship. That's the back part of the ship. I was on a destroyer. It was on the back part of the ship back there, and we were tied to the pier, of course, on this night. And everybody's back there. And I hadn't been in the Navy very long. I didn't know these guys, but they're back there telling ghost stories and talking about girlfriends and dates and things, the stuff that are going on. And then I remembered an event that I had back when I was 17 years old. And I was at some friend's house up north of us, north of Fort Worth. And there was a house out in the sticks, man. I mean, it was way out in the sticks. There was a broken down house across the street, but the nearest neighbor was a couple of miles on each side, if you know what I mean. And at night, it's one of those when it's so dark, you put your hand in front of your face, you can't see it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Unless the moon is up, you know what I'm talking about. And so we're in there playing dominoes and cards and that kind of thing. Then it was getting late, so we all went to bed. And I had this bedroom out in it was the north side. Yeah, it was north side of the building, the north side of the house. And it was an old house. I mean, it was a pier and beam house, and there's bedrooms on each side of a long room going down through the middle of it, which is a combination living room, dining room type thing. And then on the outside of that dining room was a screened-in porch, and the bathroom was back there. And so I was in this other bedroom on the deal there, and I don't know what time it was. All I know is I woke up. And I'm sitting there thinking, what woke me up? And I remembered I heard a large crash. And it sounded like, and I always say that it sounded like a bunch of pots and pans like fell off the kitchen table or the cabinet and hit the floor. That's what it sounded like. And a lot of people in the house, and I said, well, somebody's going to get up, or I'm going to hear somebody walking around, because you can hear people walking around on that floor because it creaks and moans and shit. And so I couldn't hear anybody getting up. So I'm trying to go back to sleep again. Then I heard the floor creaking, like I was telling you, and it was coming down that long opening in the middle, going along the wall that is by the bedroom doors, and it's the creaking stopped. And I knew right then, I said, man, these guys are going to come in here and try to scare me is what they're going to try. That's all right. I'll be ready for them. And so this is in the summertime, in Texas, summertime. And the door opened, and I know the door opened because it was like opening a freezer door. The air was cold.
Interesting.
And it's a big house in the summertime. I know it's 85 degrees, if not 90. And of course, I told you I read the Enquirer, and I knew about ghosts. And one of the factors about ghosts is when one comes in, the room gets cold. So my little eyeballs locked shut, and I was not looking at anything. I did not want to see what was coming in that room. And I didn't hear anybody talking. Nobody came running over there screaming and hollering, trying to scare me. Nothing. So here I am laying there. Room is still cold. I said, well, I'm just going to lay here until the room warms up. That means the ghost is gone. So I started hearing this thumping in my ears. Loud thumping. And it was my heartbeat.
Yeah.
I was so frightened. The adrenaline was boiling out of my ear bones. It had to be, because I was hearing that thumping from my heartbeat in all over. Yeah. Next thing I know, I woke up the next morning.
Wow.
Jumped out of that bed, ran into the kitchen. Everybody's up except me. And I started asking them, did y'all hear that noise last night? And they go, what noise? Nobody heard anything. So I just kind of blew it off. And then the day that I was telling this story when I was in the Navy is when it paused on me. I said, wait a minute. Here I am, adrenaline boiling out of my ear bones, dripping out of my nose.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep.
Right. Yeah.
No. Something happened, and I don't know what it was, and I don't want to know what it was.
Right.
I was talking to, oh man, I can't think of his name now. The Fire in the Sky guy. I forget his name.
Travis Walton.
Yes, Travis. I was talking to Travis one day about that. And I asked him one day, I said, well, you ever think about having, go into hypnosis and see if you missed anything? He goes, oh, no. He said, because I think I was killed and they took me aboard and revived me. And if I go back in regression, I might die. I said, that's a good point.
Wow, that's deep thinking.
Yes, that's a good point. And I said, man, stick with that. And so when somebody had asked me about being regressed, no, sorry, no. I don't want to know what happened that night. I'm still alive, so hey.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that.
For years after that, I used to dream about this, what I call a box kite out in the dark sky. It's just a box light with a bunch of Christmas lights around it. And what the hell is that? But after 4 or 5 years, I don't dream about that anymore, finally. But paranormal experiences, I've had them here in my house. Things banging on the house, boom, boom, boom. And I just, no, I don't know what that is. And we used to have several things going on around here, not anything dramatic, but all that stuff went away. So I have my opinions on it. But anyway, what you got next?
No, that's a real interesting story. And what do you think about the Travis Walton deal?
Oh, people ask me that too. Travis has stuck to his story, word for word, second for second, after all of these years. And one thing I learned about the police, with the police, is always tell the truth, because lies are too hard to remember.
True.
And that's exactly the way I look at it. Travis has not changed his story 1 second.
No, he hasn't.
So I believe everything I believe every word he says. I
do too. You know, that's one of the most incredible stories to me is the Travis Walton story. It's really fascinating. And, I mean, you're right about that. He really hasn't wavered from that story, not one little bit.
No, not a bit, nothing.
That's a pretty incredible story.
Yes. Interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I've always wondered, and I'm going to get hypothetical on you.
Okay.
I've always wondered that inside of these big crafts, there's these little tiny aliens. What in the hell do they need these big crafts for? Like, is it like a cruise ship or is it a flying city, or I don't understand.
Well, there's different, apply logic to this. If you're going out, no telling how long and how far away from your original position, you're going to have some supplies, especially if you don't know where the hell you're going. Or if you do know where you're going, they don't have much stuff there, like right here on planet Earth. The only thing we have is water. Then you're going to have supplies, and you're going to have people. And I'm sure that I've heard of these larger ships, like Travis is talking about on a larger ship. Well, they had smaller ships inside, which, okay, aircraft carrier is the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
And there's 5,000 people on our aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not far-fetched. I mean, it sounds logical to me. I'd have a big command post.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you put it that way. It makes perfect sense. For sure. So, one more MUFON question for you, Steve.
Okay.
Do you guys ever look into another thing that interests me is kind of if I were to investigate or to have, let's say, a file of cases, one of the things that I'm a nerd for little details like this. One of the things that I would look at is like the commonalities between, like, are these things happening near power lines or energy sources or water or anything like that? Because it seems to me the cases that I've heard of, a lot of them happen around these sources. Does MUFON look into any of that?
Well, that's all in the report, the witness's report. The only way we get anything like that at all is from the witness itself. The witness says, yeah, it was over a power line, and we saw a line go from the power line to the ship. There's not that many of those kind of cases, but we get them now and then. And As far as water, of course, the only people who are going to be seeing something of that nature are maybe people in an airplane flying over it, or somebody on a boat that's looking out over the ocean like I used to do all the time, and or someone on the coast that's looking out over the ocean and sees something. So I don't rule anything out. I mean, they saw something, and there's reports now these Navy pilots are seeing objects that go down into the water. I saw the video, but the one video that I'm always making fun of it, it's called a Tic Tac, and it's got the two jet pilots that are chasing it and carrying on like a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that nobody notices that I know is when you're looking at the video itself, look past the object and look at the horizon area of the clouds and the water that is going over. They're at a 45-degree angle. They're in a port turn, a 45-degree port turn, chasing whatever it is, which means they're going in a circle very fast.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So what does that mean for it then?
I can think of video games that they might find that on.
Oh, yeah?
Because these two jet pilots talked like a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
I'm serious. They sounded very immature. They didn't sound like a couple of pilots that were chasing an unknown object that might shoot them down. I didn't get that at all.
You know, you're right about that. You're definitely right about that. I never thought of it that way. I'm going to have to go back and re-listen now.
Yeah, it's all my opinion.
Yeah,
They're carrying on, laughing and carrying on about it. It's just ridiculous.
I'm going to reinspect that for sure. Because I never really thought of it that way. And from what I can remember, you're absolutely right that they are acting like idiots.
Mm-hmm. Acting like two kids on a video game.
Yeah. Wow. See, Steve, man, you're expanding my mind a bit. I love different angles.
Well, don't get a headache.
No, I won't. My head's not big enough to ache.
Well, in that case, your hair will fall out.
Steve, what in your mind has been the single case that you've investigated that sticks out?
The one that sticks out had to be the Stephenville case, because all these other cases are just basically, we know what those are. We know what that is. It's nothing exceptional. But when you start talking about the flying Walmart going over, I mean, you know, we don't have anything like that we are aware of. But, you know, I like to apply the Mr. Spock logic to things, if you know what I mean. And I don't know if I've told you this or not, but I ask people to explain to me the association and connection of paranormal, or just say a ghost and an entity, an ET and a ghost. How are they connected?
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend on the experience. But
yeah, but see, it all falls under paranormal. So how are they connected?
All right. Well, so an entity as in, well, I mean, if you're seeing apparitions, full body apparitions or entities, sometimes they float. Sometimes, you know, people have reported both aliens and ghostly activity going through walls and things like that. So,
okay, you nailed it. People always say that. They say, well, the ghost goes through walls, entities go through walls, so they're connected. And I follow that up with, okay, that means a ghost has the technology of an ET. Then I follow that up with, for someone to describe to me what a ghost is. Yeah,
I mean, you're past their dead loved ones or energy.
Energy. That's what it's the energy of a dead person. And I follow that up with, why are they wearing clothes? Because the underwear and socks that I throw out around here, I don't see them floating around my house anymore. So why are ghosts wearing clothes?
What I would say, Steve, is that's my mind projecting what that energy looks like.
I tell you what, man, you fall right in line. I'm serious.
Okay.
Because you're following the way I'm thinking. Let's go to Bigfoot.
All right.
Bigfoot is mostly seen out in the woods, having a good time picking berries or whatever they do.
Yep.
And somebody comes across them. Oh, my goodness, there's a Bigfoot. And graciously, they take one photo, and Bigfoot's always peeking around the tree. But anyway, there's no proof of Bigfoot other than these fake little photographs that someone comes up with. Same thing with Dog Man. I would hate to see one of those anyway.
Me too.
Fairies and all of that, just carrying on. This is my opinion, not MUFON's. I believe it's all connected.
Me
and
too.
Here's how I think it's connected. I'll use an example of a little kid sleeping in his bed. Something wakes him up. He looks up and he sees the ghost of his dead grandmother at the foot of his bed looking at him. Of course, he's going to jump up and run out of there. Mama, there's got to see Granny in there. Oh, you just had a bad dream, son. Come on here, get into bed and sleep it off. Well, no. I think he saw an alien in his room, and they projected what they wanted him to see, so he wouldn't be scared to death by seeing a creature. Same thing with Bigfoot. Same thing with Dog Man. They stumble across that, and they get a projection of something that they think is out there. That I saw a Bigfoot. Well, they're going to blow that off. So their cover is taken care of. That's exactly the way I look at it, because nobody has come up with any proof on anything.
It kind of like the screen image scenario, and that what they're seeing is an energy. And that makes sense, Steve, because there are plenty of cases of you and me standing somewhere and we both see something. Now, you may see a clown holding balloons, and I may see this energy as I don't know, a backrest for a chair. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I have an exercise that takes care of something like that called viewing an anomaly. And I'm not going to explain to you what it does, but it's surprising on how it ends up.
That is interesting. I'd like to hear that sometime.
Yes.
That I really do think that you're onto something there. I do believe that the paranormal in general is all connected, and I do believe that energy is the biggest connection there. It's all energy.
Yes.
And we are energy. So what we put off and what we see can be, hey, you can have 10 people in a room and have an experience, and 9 people see it. The 10th person doesn't, and all 9 see something different. And it's crazy.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's why you interview people alone.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because then they aren't feeding off of each other's stories, and
right.
It just makes sense.
If you got 2 people and you're interviewing them, one says this, the other one's going to say, no, that wasn't it. That didn't happen.
And my wife does that to me all the time.
There you go.
I know exactly
I got
how
another
it
one
is.
for you.
All right.
I say this to people too, and I don't know if you might have heard it or not, but how long was man in an animal-drawn vehicle?
Oh, gosh. A long time.
About 2,500 years.
Yeah.
Okay. From the time that man stepped off of that animal-drawn vehicle and stepped onto the moon.
Oh, so that wasn't very long.
About 65 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why is it that the time we stepped off of that animal-drawn vehicle up to today, which is covers about 120 years, 122. What do you say, 122?
Okay.
Why are we still getting 21 miles to a gallon to our cars?
That's a really good question. Because it's making somebody's pockets fat. That's why, I think.
That's because they're keeping us numbed down with not an exceptional technology, but just enough to get us by to go to work. While here we are, $30 trillion in debt with a secret space program that's doing what?
I like your thinking, Steve. I like it. That's a good point, man. That's a really good point.
So they know more than what they're giving it out to. And here we are with COVID-19 killing a bunch of people. And they're now finding out that since they made all the old people take the
vaccine.
Yeah, the vaccine. And now they're starting to have problems. And I didn't take it. I'm not going to take it because I'm not sick. I'm not going to be sick. But my doctor says years and years ago, it's time for the flu shot. And I said, no, not for me. Why? I said, well, last time I had a flu shot 5 years ago, I got the flu. So forget it. I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
And I haven't had the flu for the last 15, 20 years. I don't even get a cold. So they want this COVID thing going on. I said, no, sorry. Well, you might get the COVID. I said, well, when I get the COVID, I'll get the remedy that takes care of it. Until then, see you later.
Well, when you get the COVID, you'll already have the antibodies naturally. So
yes, that's true. I think I've already had the COVID anyway, so no big deal. It's the same thing with the shingles shot. They say I'm 72 years old, and they're trying to get me to take all kinds of stuff. And I went up there to the doctor's place there to get this shingles shot. And here she is. She got it ready to go. And I said, let me ask you a question. She goes, yeah. I said, does this stop shingles? No, but it makes it feel a lot better when you get. I said, well, then you forget it because I'm not taking it.
yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, you might get it. And I said, well, when I get it, then I'll think about coming here and getting this shot. So I just don't do it. So I'm sorry.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. I don't knock anybody for not wanting to put stuff into their bodies, man, because
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I'm not vaccinated myself, and I'm not going to get vaccinated. And there's just too much going on with it right now for me.
That's exactly right. There's too many problems with it.
Yep. I don't like it.
Anytime the government comes out and starts forcing things on you,
Yep.
you got to take a second look on that. I said, no, I don't think so.
Well, that was the biggest thing for me is that when the government comes out and starts threatening me with jobs and everything else, no, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Not gonna do it.
that's right. We pay their taxes. We pay their weekly checks if they get a check or whatever. We pay for all of that. They're supposed to do what we tell them.
Yeah, well, that's a likely story, but
I know. I like saying it, though.
yeah, I know it should be that way. However, it's really not. So,
No, it isn't.
not at all. We're just worker bees.
Oh, that's something else. I watched this show called The Dark Journalist,
Okay.
and he has a lot of interesting people coming on. And what's going around now is since the Homeland Security is taking over the UFO situation in the government, they think there's going to be a false flag incident where it's going to lock everybody down, what I was telling you about earlier. And they may even start putting a lid on all UFO investigations and people that are doing the investigations, a large enough lid that they might start arresting them. And I don't know if it'll go that far or not, because that sounds a little far-fetched. But I can understand gaining a control over the situation a little more. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what they're going to do, because they keep saying, yeah, there's going to be a false flag event. And I said, well, that ought to be interesting.
Yeah, the power that the power that, you know what it is, Steve? It's the power that we let them have. It isn't the
That's
power
true.
that they have. So
We'll see how much power they have at the end of this year.
yeah, we let them have it. So and we just
Sure
stand by
did.
and watch them.
We all learn by our mistakes.
Yep, that is the truth. I'm with you on that. So I have one more question for you, Steve.
Sure.
You've been at this a long time, and you've seen a whole bunch in your experiences. What one piece of advice would you give someone who's interested in becoming a MUFON field investigator?
Advice. Of course, this is going right toward you, is what it is.
I'll take it.
My advice would be, number one, separate the paranormal from the UFO situation, because they're not the same. And if you're going to go into MUFON does not investigate the paranormal. If I got into an argument one time with a state director because he's a paranormal investigator, right?
Okay.
And he says, well, there's cases where Bigfoot came out of a UFO. Well, I looked it up. There's only 5 out of 100,000. And I said, well, if Bigfoot came out of a UFO, here's the way I look at that. I think that the UFO came down here and abducted Bigfoot, and Bigfoot started tearing everything up in the ship, so they stopped and let him out. If if there's a connection, it's far and in between, and I don't put too much life into it. But get rid of the paranormal thing, and well, I say get rid of it. Make sure it's separated, because it doesn't connect. There's no connection other than my theories, and that's just like elbows. Everybody's got a theory,
right?
But no, we do not do the paranormal thing. Get rid of that stuff altogether. You want to go to train yourself on everything, and photographs especially. You want to find out what you find in photographs. I would go on Google and just Google in there blurred photos of bugs, and you can get a look at what they look like. And do the same thing with birds. Just do a Google blurred photos of birds flying or something of that nature, and you'll see what we're talking about. And you can do the same thing with lens flares and the same thing with reflections. And there's another thing that happens when you take a photo that's a JPEG photo. You know what a JPEG photo is?
Yep.
Okay. There's some of those when you zoom in on them, like a dot, and you zoom in on say the moon or something like that, or just a bright light, it's going to look like it has rings centered in the middle of it. And that's just something you have to put up with. On the JPEG itself causes that when it saves it. And you have to learn about things of that nature there.
Okay. That's all doable. I like to learn. I think that anybody that would get in a field like this has to like to learn, because I feel like it's always changing and there's always new things coming up and new ways to look at things. And I think
yes,
you have to like to learn.
That's true. And, we're here in MUFON. We're looking for the golden gun too, to expose all of this stuff. And so far we don't have it. The ones that are unknowns, there's not enough proof there to prove anything. It's just that we cannot make a choice on what it is. And no, it's not an airplane. No, it's not a bird. No, it's not this. It's something else. And we can't identify that something else. But something else I tell people is that if you think you have proof, then it has to be good enough to convince a courtroom jury of 12 people that have no idea what you're talking about. They're going to say, that's fake. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that. Well, they don't have enough experience to rule all the stuff out like we do. I've had 1,700 cases that I've looked at.
Wow, that's a lot.
And yeah, it's a lot. And majority of it is just stuff, just misidentification of that, and hoaxes. Oh, they're full of hoaxes and people trying to CGI. Man, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
But you have to learn all this stuff and then realize that what is real and what's not real, and go from there, because there's not that much out there. Because anything that's crashed is usually out in the wild blue yonder, and the government's out there before anybody, because they're closer to it. And isn't that strange? But anyway, sooner or later it'll come out, but I seriously doubt it's going to come out in my lifetime.
Yeah, mine either. I don't think it is. They're giving us little nuggets now, and I don't think we'll ever fully know, ever.
I don't think so either.
We'll just have to keep playing this game, and that's all right, because I don't mind playing it. It's fun. It's I don't want to know, to be honest with you. I do, but I don't, because what fun would that be?
Well, that's true. What else are we going to look for? Santa Claus?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we could.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Look for Santa.
We could. All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man, taking time out, and I'd love to speak with you again sometime, man.
Hey, just holler at me.
All right, we'll do. I appreciate it, man.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Thank you.